Hey, Jeff Manaski here, and alongside Jonathan Meyer, WIBX Town Square, Utica. Hey, John, how you doing today?
Well, not as good as the Mets, though.
Man, it
they're
is
not that good
really
either.
rough. It is really rough.
It's bad. It's all bad.
I have to say this, and I guess we'll get into this in a minute here, because this is my defense of Terry Collins, is that your slugger, Cespedes, is gone for how long? Your best pitcher's gone.
Yep.
And your closer's now gone.
Yep.
You know, and I guess the Familia thing is less of an issue, but obviously having your best pitcher and your best hitter gone, obviously that affects the team. Just a quick recap here. The Mets are facing the possibility of being swept by the Diamondbacks this afternoon. So I think we lost 9 of 11, 8 of 11, something ridiculous. Then the Mets bounced back by winning 9 of 11.
Yep.
And now we're back in this funk. We get swept by the Brewers, and it's 6 games in a row now. So I guess I wanted to ask you your thoughts, being a fellow Mets fan. Who gets the blame for this? Is this a Terry? Because I hear some people are saying Terry Collins has got to go, and I don't get it.
Well, it's not Terry's fault. This is all on Ray Ramirez. Let's be honest with you right now. He is the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
People are not going to sign in New York because of Ray Ramirez. But no, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, there's a serious health issue here with the New York Mets, as you mentioned. There's your ace, Noah Syndergaard, is shelved. You've got Cespedes. Now, the good thing is that he's starting to work himself back into baseball activities. He may be back by the end of the month, which is a good thing, hopefully in time to salvage, the season, and then hoping that he doesn't get hurt again.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Until he gets hurt again, he's back.
He's had leg problems.
It's always a leg muscle.
So, there's an issue there. Now, don't forget Jose Reyes back in the day. He had a lot of issues with his legs, and they worked on some things mechanically with him, and he seems to have gotten that behind him. Now, his problem is, of course, Father Time. So it's starting to catch up, which is sad when you're, still in your early 30s, but, for a baseball player, you're an old veteran at this point. So
I'm Reyes, and I don't want to take away from your point, but sure. I wonder how much of this extramarital is weighing on him.
There's something on his mind.
Because this story goes out, and the guy just can't hit anymore.
He can't hit, but then apparently he fixed some things, and he was starting to swing the bat better, and then he ends up on the bench. I mean, what's going on? So, but again, getting back to the injury standpoint, you're playing without, 3/5 of your infield between d'Arnaud being hurt, and who knows if he's ever going to get to the point where the Mets thought he was going to be. Rene Rivera looks like Johnny Bench and Mike Piazza right now, the way he's been swinging the bat. So who knows? Maybe he ends up Wally Pipping, Travis d'Arnaud until he goes into his. I'm sure Rene Rivera slump at some point. So
you can't Wally Pip.
You can't, but you can't. Can you take Rene Rivera out of the lineup right now? He's your best hitter right now, besides Jay Bruce. And Michael Conforto. There are some positives that come out of this. Obviously you want to get wins at the end of the day, but Michael Conforto's playing just about every day, and he's probably going to be the Mets' only all-star at this point, at the way he's playing. If he keeps swinging that bat the way he is. So hopefully that earns him more playing time in the future when everybody else does come back. You got to bench Curtis Granderson at this point. I know he homered yesterday, but I mean he is a shell of his former self, and maybe he's a better served as a left-handed hitter coming off the bench. His defense out in the outfield. At this point, I would play Conforto in left field. I'd put Lagares in center field because the pitching has been just atrocious. So any type of defensive help you can get, it would be welcome, and then have Bruce in right field. Who would have thought Jay Bruce would be, especially where he was.
I know. To the point on Granderson, I agree, but I do think he could be a piece later in the season. He always seems to get clutch hits late in the year, and he's always done that. So
yeah, but you have him as a left-handed bat coming off the bench, in a clutch role.
Yeah.
That at this point he's more of a liability at this point in that lineup. We put Lagares as a leadoff type of hitter, or you can hit him further down in the order to help protect some of the younger bats. Conforto as a leadoff hitter has been outstanding.
Yeah, he's been good.
Yeah, his simple philosophy has just been see the ball, hit the ball, get on base, do whatever you can. If the ball happens to go over the wall, it happens to go over the wall. So, but he's been a catalyst at the top of the lineup. But the pitching, who would have thought at this point? You know, you have to rely on Tommy Malone. You have to rely on the bullpen's in shambles. Overworked at this point. That would, if you want to fault Terry for something, that is what I would fault him for at this point. Is overworking that bullpen. Just playing too many matchups, and then trying to get the win. I understand trying to get the win when you have a lead, but there was one point where he had Josh Edgin come in to face a left-handed hitter when the Mets were up 5-1 in the ninth inning, when the bullpen has just been overtaxed. Yeah. You could have given him the day off, and just along those lines.
I think I heard something yesterday that I believe it was relievers and appearances. Either 4 of the top 5 or 3 of the top 4 relievers. Yeah. Appearances, they're Mets.
Yeah, Salas.
They're Mets.
Salas, yeah. Robles, and Addison Reed at this point.
Yeah.
Reed is gonna, obviously he's gonna be the closer at this point unless the Mets make some sort of move. But he can certainly handle the job. To be honest,
I like Reed more than I like Familia. Familia, you can't argue his numbers. He gets 50-something saves a season. But he's always in a jam. He's always in a jam. I actually trust Reed more than I trust Familia.
It's funny that you say that, because I was thinking even last year when he did have the saves, you're right, he was always in a jam. But it always reminded me of Francisco Rodriguez and Armando Benitez.
Armando Benitez. Now, again, to Familia's defense, he closes the game out. Yes. He does get the out.
Yes.
How many times have you seen Familia 2-run lead, 1-run lead? Bases loaded, nobody out.
Yep.
Right? And he gets out of it. Or base loaded, 1 out, he gets out of it.
The magician strikes again,
right.
But,
it's always just sweating it out.
But how many times could you, walk that tightrope? And now you don't have to worry about it because, obviously he's going to be done for the rest of the year. And, who knows, having a surgery like that, if he'll ever be able to throw the same way again. Look at Matt Harvey, the point, he's got a big start today. I know the last start was huge, and he kind of, the numbers weren't there, but everybody seemed happy that his mechanics were back. But I took a lot of crap from fellow Met fans a couple of years ago when Harvey had that press conference where they were going to shut him down, and he didn't go out and say, I'm going to be that bulldog, I'm going to take the ball. It was always, well, I've got to look at my long-term future. Well, buddy, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. You had your chance. At that point, I wanted the Mets to trade Matt Harvey because I knew he was – I knew karma was going to come back, and get him at some point. You could have gotten a shortstop by the name of Corey Seager from the Dodgers, if you could believe that, some prospect in the Dodger system. But why would the Mets trade their best pitcher? Just a lot of slack that I ended up taking for it. Wouldn't you rather have Corey Seager right now?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, so now I'm not going to tout my own horn there anymore. But yeah, the good news for the Mets, if they can stay afloat long enough, the help is on the way. You've got.
Are we calling up Tim Tebow? I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding. No. I think he's the only one in the organization with a lower batting average than Curtis Granderson. If that's still true.
But he's healthy. But no, Steven Matz and Seth Lugo are going to start minor league assignments tomorrow to try to build up their arm strength, and obviously those two will help. As long as Lugo, again, Matz is his health history, you can't really rely on him. Lugo is going to be iffy, but if Tanaka can do it with the Yankees, why can't Lugo pitch and perform with a slight tear of his UCL? Especially, the way he's been pitching, or had been pitching, in the World Baseball Classic, he was lights out. So, except for in the championship game there, but so definitely the arms, the help is on the way. Cespedes, as we talked about, he's on his way back. You can't count on David Wright at this point. Who knows?
I don't think he's ever coming back.
I got to be honest with you. I agree with you. I don't think
he's never coming back.
I don't think he's ever going to be able to come back either. And that's sad, that you look at him, you look at Don Mattingly, you look at some some of these players that have had their careers cut short. I'm not saying that Don Mattingly was a Hall of Fame player. I'm not saying that he wasn't, though. I'm not going to say David Wright was a Hall of Fame player. I'm not saying that he wasn't. But just very parallel, those two careers right there.
Yeah.
Just what happened there. Asdrubal Cabrera, you hope is going to get back. at some point. And if not, you've got some guys in the minor league system. Ahmad Rosario is really tearing the cover off the ball at AAA right now. And Dominic Smith, hopefully will help out at first base, help out the defensive side of things at first base. Plus, he can hit a little bit too. Probably not going to be like Lucas Duda, but he's going to play a heck of a lot better defense than Lucas. I can't throw home Duda, so at least Dominic Smith can throw home. So and that's the thing about Smith defensively, drawing comparisons to Keith Hernandez. So if he can switch,
I'm always skeptical of the comparisons. But let me say this: Terry Collins. So we agree, not his fault.
It's not his fault. I mean, when 8 to 10 guys that are core guys on your team that you depend on are all hurt at the same time, what are you supposed to do?
Right, I agree with that. Is it getting to the point where we start thinking about trading guys and calling up young guys? I think it's still too early for that.
It's still too early, and I mean, how much value do these guys have right now? I mean, you're looking at
Bruce.
But even right now, I don't think you can get much for him right now. Only because I don't think the trade market has developed. I think later in the year you might be able to get a decent sized prospect for him. But don't forget, all these guys are on the last year of their contract, so they're all basically 1-year rentals. They would be more effective if they had another year attached to their contract. You'd probably get a lot more for them. But between Neil Walker, there's probably value there. You might be able to move at the end of the year. And then you can play that Gavin Chechny at second base. Jay Bruce, you could probably move.
Do you know? I don't know if we've ever gone through this list in one of our videos before. It's Bruce, Granderson, Duda, Walker, Reyes, Cabrera. Is that? And I think that's it. That's except for Cespedes and Darno or Rivera. And who am I leaving out?
Well, I think Rene Rivera might be on his last year of his.
You're talking like almost the whole starting lineup, minus the pitcher and the catcher.
This is the window closing. So, and again, you can't. You have to, if you're Sandy Alderson, you have to be careful who you trade to. You don't want to trade any of your top guys because these are guys that are, Rosario and Dominic Smith are going to be ready next year.
There's no way those guys are moving. No, there's no way. I don't care what pitcher they offer. You can't move those guys.
No. I would be, if you can get Matt Harvey to build up his trade value again, if you can get him on a string of 5 or 6 straight starts where he is starting to look like the old Matt Harvey, get rid of him. You do whatever you can because he's one of those guys that he has a year left on his contract or eligibility from an arbitration standpoint that you can move, maybe to help somebody pennant race. Team down the road. Not to say that the Mets aren't going to be in a pennant race, because if you look at the National League right now, I think there's only 6 teams above 500 at this point. So and there's a lot of teams playing above their head, and there's a lot of teams that have not hit their stride. The Mets right now, they're a 500 team. At best, they're a 500 team. Until they get some of their pitching back, they got to get Jacob deGrom back on track. He's got to. I mean, walks have been killing him. His control is not there right now. They got to start getting some of these arms back. They need Harvey to be Harvey.
I mean, even Sunday's game with deGrom on the mound, trying to avoid a sweep in Milwaukee, the Mets built a 7-1 lead, and I know it's not. It was a bullpen implosion, but deGrom started giving that game away.
But deGrom wore that game because he even said himself, you're in the 5th inning, you're at 95 pitches in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
He even said he just isn't hitting his spots, and he's letting the hitters work the count. He's not being aggressive enough, and so that's why they had to go to the bullpen at that point. So, I mean, at this point, just the way that they're playing, they're such a streaky team that it's the hallmark of a 500 team. You run off 9 of 11, then you lose 6 in a row. Then that's exactly what the Mets have done. So we'll see.
Man, I just never thought. 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, we were talking Mets baseball, and I just never thought that this is where we would be in mid-May.
I never thought that the pitching staff would have the worst ERA in the league, starting and bullpen. I just did not see that coming.
You can't. I didn't coin the phrase, but I say it all the time. You just can't predict baseball. No. It's just it's unbelievable. All right, so. We'll touch base again in about a week. We'll see where the Mets are, and hopefully we've got the conversation is more positive. But Mets trying to avoid a sweep from the Diamondbacks. This is the conversation. Where we get swept by the Brewers, we get swept by the, you know, we struggle with the bottom feeders in the NL East. I hate to say this, but we're becoming the bottom feeders in the NL East, you know. Yeah. Well, but I still think it's early.
It's still early. We'll see what happens. Lots of baseball to be played, but yeah, we just got to stay afloat till we get some of those guys back, and hopefully that those injuries take care of themselves and the players take care of themselves, and they can become more competitive later in the year.
All right. Thanks, John. Comment below, subscribe to our page, and let's go Mets.